by now, I know you've watched my channel. And if not, I know that the question comes up whenever I do Gunpla builds, or whenever you see a Gunpla build. What is an HG kit? What is an MG kit? What is an RG kit? Today, I'm here to explain those letters to you and explain why they get labeled the way they do. Also, I'm here to answer the question about what is a P-Bandai kit. It's time for Gunpla Primer. What's going on, comrades? It's your Supreme Leader KouldbayneGames here. Today for Gunpla Primer, I'm going to be talking a little bit about the terminology of Gunpla, like what we talk about when we're discussing the grading of kits. Like you'll hear a lot of Gunpla builders talk about an HG kit, an MG kit, a PG kit, RG, all of that stuff, and it might confuse a little bit of people who are new to the building world, or are just curious enough to want to know what each of those levels means, or each of those lettering mean. So today, let's get into that. Let's dive into that, and we'll start off with I'm gonna label these by ease of difficulty. So we'll start off with the easiest and work our way up to the most difficult. And for me personally, the easiest kits out there are the FGs, or first grades. First grades are basically the way the kits used to be made. Back in the day when Gunpla just started kind of coming into its own and really being a hobby that people embraced, the FG kits were basic plastic model kits, snap-tight kits that were made for the show Mobile Suit Gundam, the original Mobile Suit Gundam. Now these kits are bare bones. There's very little color separation. If there's color separation, it's only through the runner itself. They're not very detailed. There's no stickers, and you've got to do a lot of the work yourself. So yeah, they can be they're a little bit extra work, but they're super easy to put together. Warning though, they are super fragile because they are older. It's an older kit. I recommend those if you're wanting to get started and just wanting to learn the basics. Right along with them is the entry grade kits. No tools required for an entry grade kit, so you won't need anything here. And that's an EG, so you might see like EG 1144, and 1144 is always going to be your scaling. So if you see a 1144, usually they stand about maybe like that tall to about that tall. They do get up to about a 1100 scale for a basic size. But that's usually your bigger suits. So like the Nightingale and the Sinanju and the New Gundam, all of them have tall mobile suits, so they have taller scales. You will see a 1550 out there every now and then as well in these earlier scales. The 1550 is basically just a shrunk down kit to fit spacing. It's a smaller version of a really big suit, usually, like the mobile armors and the accessory packs and stuff like that that come for these HG kits. Now, moving on from the entry grade and the first grade and the no grades and first grades kind of are the same thing. They don't really have grading, or their grading is so low that it's kind of basic. It's a basic kit that needs a little extra love. Entry grade's super easy to do as well. I highly recommend that for the Gunpla builder starting out that's never done this hobby before. But if you're wanting to get into it and actually use your tools that you're given, like tweezers, and you gotta buy these separate from your kits. You're never gonna get them with your kit. But the next phase up is the HGs. Now HG kits usually are pretty well detailed kits. This is from the Build Divers R series, Re-Rise series. Build Divers Re-Rise series. This one is the Tri-Age Magnum, which I'll be building on my channel by the time this is edited and done. So, really a great looking kit. I recommend HG and lower if you're beginning out and if you're starting out. The HG kits have some great detail to them. Super easy to build most of the time. There's really not a real difficult HG kit for me. And they really are perfect for like the person who doesn't have a lot of storage space. As you see behind me, I don't have a lot right now. I'm working on that. You will start seeing some Gundam kits replacing some of these figures and stuff like that soon, hopefully. But again, an HG kit's well worth the money. You're not going to spend a whole lot of money on an HG kit. At most, you might spend about $80, and that's just for the bigger, more detailed kits out there. Entry grade kits, you'll never spend above $20, and first grades never above 10. No grades, they don't exist hardly anymore. You can't really find a no grade anymore. They were kind of like the first grades. Back in the 90s, there wasn't a grading system, and now back in the the 80s through the 90s, grading really wasn't a thing. As far as it goes with the HGs, though, it's definitely worth investing, in some good tools, a good pair of nippers so you can clean up around the parts and cut them out, a good pair of tweezers for decal work and holding smaller parts, and a hobby knife, unlike my broken one here, to use for like really cleaning off those edges, and a good part separator, because I'm gonna tell you right now, making mistakes is gonna happen. I also like to keep a little pocket knife nearby just so I can like cut into the plastic of the bag sometimes. But HG kits really are, they're kind of the quintessential kit if you're going to get started building. Next up, moving up the list, I'm going to go with the real grades. Real grades are your next phase up for me. They're not super advanced for most kits, but you will find that they are a lot more work, and it takes a lot more time to build the kit, because you're not only building the Gundam, you're building the Gundam's frame, you're building the armor, you're putting the armor on the frame, you're making probably one of the most detailed moving parts out there. Again, RG kits are not difficult, and they're not terribly expensive. I think at the most you would probably pay about $60 or $70 tops for an RG kit, straight off from like the normal waves. And we'll get into like what's the difference between normal kits versus like premium kits. But RG would be my next phase up. They're going to be about the same size as an HG kit. You're only going to get one 144 out of an RG, and that's not a bad thing. They're tinier kits, so there's a lot more smaller pieces, and that's why it moves up in difficulty there. Now, I will say that it's also a lot more work put into them. There's a lot more detail in them. They're really well detailed kits. People love RG kits more than HG, and it's just because when you move them, they are so much more dynamic, because that frame is actually custom built. Like, they actually mold that frame onto the runner instead of, and it's so cool because like the frame parts are actually molded into the runner, and then you just have to gently clip them and move them and bend them ever so slightly. And I love an RG kit. Like, an RG kit is definitely something I would recommend highly if you're going to be getting into Gunpla. If you're going to be moving into Gunpla, I should say, moving up the ladders of Gunpla, I would definitely not start out with an RG unless you've done model kit building, or unless you're my good friend Salacious Rum, who jumped right into it with an RG and really jumped in with a difficult RG and still managed to like build a beauty there. It was a great build for him. As far as it goes with your RGs, HGs, and all that, I definitely recommend looking at hobby shops for those, just because if they're going to be the more readily available ones out there. Moving up to the next phase now, let's go ahead and talk about our master grade kits. Master grades are probably one of the more difficult kits to build. Definitely a lot of work to them. There's a whole lot of it's a lot of big building. You're building bigger pieces. You're going to do a lot of room to work. There are a lot of runners. You will even need screwdrivers for some of the kits, especially some of the older ones, because they used screws for the joints. With that comes a problem of wear and tear. Eventually, if you move the joints too much, imposing them and showing off the mobility and all that, that screw's going to wear down that plastic over time that it's in there, and it's just going to keep wallowing it until it finally just gives the joint away. But they're not terrible kits. There are expensive kits though. Some master grades go, the lowest I've ever seen a master grade go for is about $40, and that's super low. I mean, that's low for a master grade. And then you get some of them that go all the way up to like hundreds of dollars, but they're really well detailed kits. They're really beautiful kits. I highly recommend those for the more advanced builder, because you're going to need to do a lot of work. I've built altogether, I want to say 2 so far. I own about 4 or 5 master grades, and I'll tell you right now, the 2 that I built, which were the Death Scythe Hell Endless Waltz Edition and the X1, the Crossbones X1 Full Cloth, both were really beautiful kits, but it took a lot of work and detailing. I noticed I've got schmutz on my shirt, but those kits were super detailed, super posable, but a lot of work. You're going to put a lot of time and a lot of effort into those. I've built the no grade 1/100s, and here's the thing about master grades too. Speaking of that, they only come in a 1/100 size. You're not going to get a 1/144 master grade. There's just so much detail that goes into it, and so much skill that you need, that it's a big kit for a reason. Like, they really put a ton of work and detail into these kits. So master grades are definitely right up your alley if you're looking for something with a little more difficulty and a little more height to it. Like I said, a 1/100 scale is probably going to stand about the size of like a almost anywhere from like 10 to 12 inches in my opinion. That's usually where I see them at, is about 10 to 12. And the 1/100 scales are just massive. Definitely get one if you're wanting to do a lot more work. Sometimes they'll come with water slide decals too, so if you're comfortable with water slides, have at it. If you're like me and don't really mess with those a whole lot, just because I don't like water slides. They tend to be very hard to work with my sausage fingers here. I prefer just leaving my kits kind of basic build a lot of times anyway, so not a whole lot of runner, not a whole lot of stickers. I will say that master grade kits can be a sticker nightmare from time to time, but they're not super difficult. And again, you'll find a ton of master grades out there. You'll find a ton of big kits out there that are master grades, and they're just a lot of fun. Next up, we have the perfect grade. Now that is the top of the line, best that you're going to get. Really expensive kit. You're not going to go below $100 on a perfect grade, and I'm being brutally honest with you. They are huge. They're at a 1/60th scale, so if you were to take it from my head to my chest here, that would probably be about the height, maybe a little taller. They come in at a whopping almost, I want to say 2 feet to 3 feet in length. No, maybe not 3 feet. Maybe like 2 feet in length. They are huge kits. Really well detailed. It's like building a giant real grade, is what I've been told. Part separation color separation is just absolutely fantastic. There's a lot of parts to them. It's all out work to build them. Now, they're the most difficult, but they're the most rewarding kit. And again, you've got the like the RX-78 Unleashed that came out not too long ago in the perfect grade line, and that is like the pinnacle of, or the premier top of the line, not pinnacle, but the pinnacle, the top of the line premier like big one. It's all the rage right now. We saw Adam Savage build one. We've seen like so many celebrities picking them up and wanting to build them. A lot of the big Gunpla builders are building them now. A lot of people are picking them up. I love following the people on Gunpla TikTok, and some of them have said this is the best kit that's a Bandai kit. Now, do I recommend going out and getting a perfect grade? Pick the kit you want the most, whether it be Exia, whether it be Unicorn, whether it be RX-78 Unleashed. I mean, get you a perfect grade at least once in your life. That is the quintessential kit to say, hey, I've done it. I've completed the hardest kit in my life. Yeah, I mean, perfect grades are right there. They're beautiful kits. There's a lot of, like I said, a lot of detail, a lot of all that fun stuff. And they definitely aren't like an HG kit here. Like I said, HG kits, compact, can fit inside this box when laid down. But you take that perfect grade, you're going to need that big box to store it if you're going to be storing them until you have display space. Let's see. Next up, we're going to talk. Let's talk a little bit about, like, I'm sorry, throat's getting a little itchy from talking. But next up, let's discuss P-Bandai. So P-Bandai means premium Bandai. Now that is your premium kits. Those are kits that you're going to have to like pre-order from Bandai. They will not sell them to retailers. And if a retailer gets them, a lot of times Bandai is very, very cautious about that. Like, they don't want people going out and buying a ton of these kits. They're actually limiting them now. I recently have bought 2 kits. And the 2 kits I've bought were the Toggies. Well, I've bought 3. Or I've actually bought 4 P-Bandai kits. One I'm buying for my friend Dwayne over at Destination Stone. A great channel. If you haven't checked them out, go check out Destination Stone. They do Gunpla builds as well and are just really, really fun. Really fun friends of mine. So definitely go check them out. But the P-Bandai kits are your very well detailed, very limited release. You're not going to get a whole lot of them. But I've bought 4 so far. 2 I have in hand. 1 is going into, like I said, going to Dwayne. And then 1 I'm waiting for the pre-order to ship. I've got the Tallgeese Flugel, a beautiful kit. If you're a fan of Gundam Wing, Tallgeese is where it's at. One of the best enemy suits around. I love Tallgeese. I've got the Death Scythe Rosette, which I just got in the mail over the weekend, and I'm gonna tell you right now, I ordered that one from Side 7 Exports, who buys from P-Bandai, or from the Premium Bandai store in Japan, and shipped to me. So thank you, Side 7 Exports. Again, I really appreciate that kit. That's a beautiful kit. And finally, you know, I've got one of the red frame Astrays coming. I can't remember which one it is. Or no, I got the gold frame Astray. It's a gold frame Astray. It's one of their P-Bandai. They just announced this a couple of months back. And I picked it up, and it's a beautiful looking kit, and I can't wait to build these things. They're all master grades, by the way. P-Bandai very rarely ship. Well, the one I got Dwayne is an HG, but I've got 2 master grades right now, and I think the third one I've got a master grade coming as well. So, I'm adding to my master grade stack. Yay. But, guys, P-Bandai are cream of the crop kits. You're going to get a lot of your money's worth out of them. They do have some faults, and I got a fellow TikTok Gunpla builder. He warned me about the rosette and said that the rosette's got some very loose parts. So be prepared for it. He said it's still a beautiful kit and still a fun kit to build. But your P-Bandai kits, again, they're kind of they're Bandai's way of saying, hey, these are our premium kits. You definitely want to snag one if you can. They're going to be a little more pricier. Your HGs usually go for about 30 plus bucks. Sometimes you can get one for under 30 bucks, but usually it's like 30 plus. The master grades go anywhere from 50 to 100, and then your real grades are right there, like 30 to 50 to 85. Really kind of pricey kits, but that's just because they're limited release, and they don't want them selling out too quickly. Although they do. You got people watching P-Bandai like it's like a hawk waiting for those kits to drop. Like, that Flugel was so hot that people bought those things left and right. So yeah, that's P-Bandai. You do have like third-party kits as well. I'm not going to get into that. That's too much to get into. That would be a whole nother episode of like top 10, maybe another top 10 video if y'all would like to see that. I could do a top 10 third-party kits that I think are really good. But anyway, comrades, that's it for today's video. Thank y'all so much for watching. Make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments below if you've you know, built any of the kit levels grades. There we go, kit grades that I've discussed. Let me know if you've built this buddy here, because this one is getting built as of tonight. I'm streaming it Sunday, and I'm going to be airing it I'm going to start the build tonight, but I'm recording right now, as a matter of fact. But I'm recording like hours before it. But let me know in the comments below if you've had fun building these kits, or if you have any questions, or if you let me know about an episode you'd like to see me do, if there's anything that you would like to see me talk about in Gunpla Primer. Again, there is a link tree in the description below. Make sure you check that out. That's going to take you to all of my social media links where you can talk with me about Gunpla, where you can ask me questions. I'm always available. Sometimes it might take me a couple of days to answer a few questions just because I don't get notifications quite often. But yeah. So anyway, comrades, that's it for today's video. Thank y'all so much for watching. Much love. And das vidanya.